Hey guys, I hope you're having a great week. We are now officially at the halfway mark. So we are moving into week 5. You are working on your second essay, and that is a group project. You should be having all kinds of great conversations happening within your posts right now, within your group, and coming up with at least 3 good reasons why selfies and writing actually have a lot of things in common. If you have any questions or you're having any issues in your group, please reach out to me. I'm trying to jump in there as I see you guys having conversations and answering questions as I see them pop up. I'm getting some emails, but please, don't feel like you're doing this alone. I'm here to help guide you and to answer any questions you have as we start moving forward. I'm really excited to see these. I'm seeing some really great ideas already starting to come out of those conversations. Many of you guys are taking to Teams or Zoom. A lot of you guys have exchanged email addresses and are starting to work on this, so I'm expecting some really great collaborative papers here. All right, so as you continue to work on that, we are going to start moving into our next content, and this one is going to set us up for that very final essay, which is an argumentative essay. Now, everything that we've been doing up until this point is really to help us to tackle this essay and this argument the wisest way possible. So let me talk to you a little bit about what we have been doing. We have started with our protest music essay, and that one is to generate really close reading where we're learning to annotate information. We're learning to dive a little bit deeper below the surface to see what is really being said. And with that, a lot of you guys watched some music videos that went with those songs, so you can kind of see how adding in different types of images can really kind of put these things into motion and reinforce an interpretation, or maybe give us a different interpretation from what we might expect with that song. So the first assignment was to really train us to be able to read things on a deeper level. The second one that you're working on right now is really seeing and comparing how arguments are put together. Now, we worked on this with the Martin Luther King Jr. letter from a Birmingham jail, and you're able to see how logos and pathos and ethos are different types of ways that we can appeal to our audience and persuade them. And with the selfies and writing, you're seeing how these things that we do all the time, taking pictures or, engaging on social media, how this really already is playing in that same idea of composition, where we might be editing or tweaking or, directing our ideas to a specific audience. All of these things kind of come together. And these are formative for what we're going to be doing with the argumentative essay. So this week we're going to start shifting in that direction, and I have some fun things for you guys to do as we start working there. You're going to see, if we scroll down here to the things that you need to read this week, you're going to see I have a short video here on Plato's Allegory of the Cave. Now, this is pretty famous, and a lot of classes might reference this, or you might see some articles reference this over time. But if this is new for you, you're in for a treat. This is actually a really cool idea. So an allegory is kind of a story within a story. And we're looking at this particular story of these people brought up within this cave, and where they think that the shadows on the wall is what's really the real thing happening in front of them. Now, we know a shadow is just a shadow. It's not actually the real object. But we get to follow this person as they come to that realization also. And so you're going to watch this, and the TED Talk I give you here, it's pretty short. They're going to walk you through, so you're going to understand the content. We're not actually having to read Plato right now. We're just kind of getting a little introduction to this kind of really cool idea. And then from there, you're going to read The Allegory of the Digital Cave. And this is an article that's written by Robert Meadows. And he's saying that these cell phones right here, or this computer, is a cave. And that everything that we're seeing on these screens is kind of like a shadow, and that we're not really experiencing the real world anymore. We're experiencing shadows on a wall. So I want you to read through his argument and take a close look at how he's putting this argument together. Is he using any credibility? Is he using any logical data or statistics? Is this an emotional appeal? Does he use a combination? So first, read deeply. We want to go deep. We want to see, what is this person really trying to tell us or convince us? Because he's writing an argumentative essay. And we want to be able to do that too. So let's analyze and first see how he's doing this. You're going to have a response where you're kind of putting this together, and I want you to consider social media and this allegory of the cave, and to see, do you agree with him? Do you agree with Robert Meadows' stance that we're really just sitting in a cave and everything we're watching on here is just shadows? I'm curious to see where you're going to come with that. These usually end up being pretty good, interesting debates that happen right here on the discussion board. But I want to take your writing up another notch. So every essay that we do, we take it up to a little bit more sophisticated level. And so I'm going to introduce to you a formula called Renskew. You're going to see this right here. Renskew is just absolutely a phenomenal formula that I was taught by my very first 1301 composition instructor. His name was Dr. Ellis. If you listen to the podcast, remember, podcasts are just, these are extra bits of information. This is a conversation between Professor Parker and me as we talk about these big ideas. So if you want to, turn that on, listen to it through Spotify as you're cooking dinner or, driving around town, running errands. It's not your formal lecture. That's what this is. But it is maybe another way to help you understand the content. But I think it's so important. Renskew is essentially the backbone of good research. And when you're trying to figure out how you want to respond to someone or respond to a particular argument, it's sometimes tricky to keep logos, pathos, and ethos in mind. But I think that Renskew is easier. And if you have a Renskew formula in your essay, you have all of those elements. So Renskew is essentially reasons, examples, names, numbers, sensory words, questions, and quotations. And I walk you through every bit of those. If you click into this file, you're going to see that. But once you have your reasons, that's that backbone of that thesis statement. Remember, we want 3 good reasons in each one of our arguments, because that sets us up for that 5-paragraph essay or even bigger arguments. Pretty much if you could work in 3s, you're setting yourself up for a great conversation. Once you have your reasons, you want examples to back that up. So, if I'm saying Marvel is better than DC, because clearly Marvel is better than DC, I need to have 3 reasons. Maybe one of my reasons is that they have more complex characters. So that's a reason. That's going to be one of the parts of my roadmap for my thesis statement. But I'm going to take that one part of that thesis statement, and since I said that one first, that's going to be that first academic paragraph, that first body paragraph. Well, I want to give an example. So I might talk about Peter Parker and how he struggles with the responsibility of being a hero. So that could be an example. Now, names, maybe I want to borrow from a film scholar for this, and I want to show maybe how Marvel is a little bit more complex, a little bit better than DC. So the next thing would be numbers. I want to have data. I could talk about the box office. I mean, we all know Marvel does better at the box office than DC, so I could prove it with just tickets, right? Sensory words, this is when I really want to start writing into my field. If I'm writing in biology, I want to use scientific terms. If I'm writing in history, I'm going to ground it in the terms used there, the theories there. It could even be as simple as just going back through that essay and seeing where I want to clean up the vocabulary a little bit and really start pulling in some great words. The next thing I have is questions. These could be questions I'm asking to help me further my research, or maybe questions I want to leave with my audience. And then finally, quotations. Now, you know how important textual evidence is because I've asked you to include it all the way from the very first essay that we worked on. So textual evidence is absolutely paramount to a good, strong essay. And so I want to make sure I have that in there. I'm going to find quotes maybe from my expert or from the text or maybe even from the movie. So if I have reasons, examples, names, numbers, sensory words, questions, and quotations, I've got logos, pathos, and ethos. All right, so moving on here, you're going to have your discussion here on social media and the allegory of the cave. And then we're going to work on pronouns. So I have a couple videos here. We've got pronoun agreement with Kanye West and then with Ariana Grande. I have a PowerPoint kind of walking you through pronouns. These are important to learn for grammar because we want to make sure we know how to use these properly. But I do want to warn you to go back to some of the first conversations that we had. When I talk about those two words we want to always avoid in academic writing, the two worst words in academia, which is I and you. So we want to know how to use pronouns, obviously, so we can be grammatically correct when we're posting on Facebook, but in academia, let's be really careful with how we use those. All right, you're going to see I also have here an opportunity for you to earn a little extra credit. I have a very short survey on rhetoric. I just want to make sure that you guys understand it, you feel comfortable with it. This is a great way for me to kind of feel your pulse a little bit. If we were in class, we would talk about it and I would see your puzzled faces, but since we're online, it's a little bit harder. Take the short survey. It's 3 questions. Let me know what you think about rhetoric, if you feel comfortable with it. If not, I'm happy to reach out to you. We can talk about it, but I want to make sure you get it before we move on to our very final essay. So get that last bit of your group work done. Turn in that essay by Friday night so you can have a nice relaxing weekend and reach out to me. I hope to see you guys on Zoom on Tuesday night at 7. Other than that, have a great week.